United are being linked with Cunha. And there's a little wrinkle in this, which I find very amusing, because we had been linked with that player. And then he started to go off the rails a little bit. Now, there's no arguing with the kid's talent, but there were a few sort of very publicly profiled displays, shall we say, from this lad. And I wonder, is it that, maybe our interest might have cooled on the back of those? United, however, seem to be very, very strongly linked with him. Talk to us about this.
It almost feels like you use the reference, a terrible set of lads. That seems to be the reference for a United signing, doesn't it? Like, get him in. Come on, Matthias, you can sit next to Jadon, who's coming back and no one wants, and probably Paul will make an appearance, and Anthony will come back when Betis don't do the deal. All the bad pennies in the dressing room, because when you look at Cunha and just his metrics, his stats and everything like that, they're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant for a Wolves player. And if the other side of the game was there, as in off the pitch, let's call it that, all the big clubs will want him. No doubts about it at all. The metrics are all there. He is a brilliant player, which is annoying. But you just wonder at what point does someone go, I'm not sure. I don't know whether it was when it wasn't too bad, the red card against Kirkes, but then when he punched the steward twice, that was pretty bad, yeah. And then when he messaged his own fans when they put about that and slagged them all off, then had to delete it, that was bad then, yeah. And then when Arsenal fans said, come to us and impassioned play, and he tweeted back to say, why would I leave one shithole for another? Yeah, probably sometimes things just can't be ignored, can they, somewhat? So I don't know about this one. This is clearly a player, but all the news, all the info which people are seeing is there's no one else seems to be in the race anymore. There's full expectation now. It's just agreeing it with United and getting that sorted. But you do wonder, as we were almost talking off camera, why does no one want Matthias Cunha anymore, does it seem? Because on the surface of just the pure stats, should be loads in for him, and release clause, 62.5 million in the current climate for a striker getting 16 goals and with those assists and metrics doesn't seem a bad deal at all. Seems a bit of a no-brainer if the other side was there. But yeah, you just wonder, maybe Matthias Cunha and Manchester United as characters are just made for each other on the day where Sir Jimbo announces or is set to announce another 200 job cuts at Old Trafford.
Yeah, it's a perfect link at the end, because it's hard to read and understand all the information you've given us there. The fact that nobody's really in for this kid except for United. It's hard to get all that information on board, factor in what we've heard. You outlaid all the incidents there, each one of which was dodgy, and not think he might be a terrible set of lads. So that's possible. If we move from United to their chums at City, we've got two City stories. One is a potential sale, and two is, well, actually, they're both potential sales, to be honest with you. We'll start off with Kevin De Bruyne, who's their most high-profile footballer of recent years, and we saw his big farewell PR stuff. And we got the impression from what he was saying that he very much wanted to hang around. There was chats then, which we got down the Glen for having him in the mix. Why wouldn't you? For perhaps coming to Liverpool and then saying, well, we'd never pay his wages. But lads are saying, well, we'd never pay his wages. So whatever. There are, however, clubs in the Premier League who would do that, you think, because they are looking for that kind of bit of a difference maker. Maybe someone who's not going to play the full season, but someone who's going to make a big difference and would have experience and quality. Someone perhaps who is a comparatively newbie to the Champions League, perhaps, or someone who's looking to bring on a couple of young players that they have around the squad. Who are we hearing linked with De Bruyne lately?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, this, but as many have reported, had it stood up, Villa are considering that possibility of taking De Bruyne. which they're such a Monchi's there, the wheeler dealers, aren't they? They make some moves, and we've seen the Rashford one, although he's now on load out for the season. So that's to be heard. And Villa PSR issues are going to come up, which we're going to talk about as well. But yeah, Kevin De Bruyne wants to stay, as he's told us that, he couldn't be clearer at a high level. So Premier League clubs, he clearly did that interview in the mix zone at Goodison to say, hi, I'm still here. I can still play, like make me an offer type of thing. And then you saw kind of things quickly disappeared, like the MLS stories petered off. And even the ones that like Como, which had seemed to be that weird retirement place in Italy where Fabregas was managing and Varane went and Dele Alli, like they just play Football Manager 2024, I assume, or 23 or something like that. It's a bit of a weird one, that one. But yeah, all those sort of disappeared. But it is intriguing to see, will they make a move and what's going to happen for Kevin and that. But we've mentioned this one before. We how many months ago did we mention this one? Ederson. He nearly left it last summer for Saudi. Ederson's heading for that Saudi bag. He's always injured. He probably wanted to go last summer. It's been a disaster for City this summer, or this season. Ederson's off, and Saudis will stump up the cash. We talked to it before. They're looking for an elite goalkeeper to be over there as well. So he's expected to go, and Diogo Costa, the Porto and Portuguese #1, is well expected to come in.
That's interesting. And it makes a lot of sense. And like you said, it's not as if it hasn't been flagged up adequately in the past. But to bring back Villa into it just before, you mentioned PSR. And, we know that there's ways around. We were talking before about how there could be some inventive trading done if we were to get this, highly unlikely, but dream Alvarez in and Darwin out thing done. There could be some inventive transfer fees put in the books. Villa and Chelsea are looking at doing some sort of a deal, and it might come back to this PSR stuff you were talking about.
Yeah, this one came out today. It's from Miguel Delaney. Chelsea are targeting Morgan Rogers. Now, this is a name a lot of people have got interest on. We've got a lot of interest. I love this player. I think he's brilliant. And if he is on the market, Liverpool should be rat a drain pipe style and all in on that. Really should be. No two ways about it. But as it says there, Villa obviously don't want to sell, but feeling in that their football that the PSR churn, it keeps coming out, whichever journal we speak to, Villa and PSR, that Villa are right on the line already. And actually, if they don't get Champions League football next season, don't finish in the top 5, it is a bit precarious for them in terms of they want to probably sign Rashford, don't they, on a permanent deal. So that's 40 million quid. Well, you're already in a bit of trouble there, aren't you, with PSR? So then you want to do this. So you're then looking to probably sell to buy. And we've talked before about the likes of Kamara. Who would there be? I would argue right now, Morgan Rogers is their most saleable asset. Having a brilliant season, young age, broken into the England squad. They could get top dollar for Morgan Rogers. And to be honest, there's a little bit of me wants this to be true in the sense of we hate Chelsea, but I want Morgan Rogers to be on the market, because if Morgan Rogers is on the market, we need to be in there. And Liverpool have watched Morgan Rogers in the past as well.
I'm not hearing from you or from anyone else there any, reported fee that Rogers could be available for, which I've always found quite interesting. Did you see anything even vague in that regard?
No, again, he's a kind of hard. I've seen 70 million mooted, but again, it's like on what basis? Because he's a hard one to price, because he's a more recent breakthrough, so that comes into the mix. All his attributes are brilliant. He can play in a multitude of positions. That comes into the mix. English tax comes into the mix. Is obviously a big one as well. You're going to have to pay an English tax for someone like Morgan Rogers if you wanted to get him. I just don't know what you can say he's worth exactly. It's so hard because of his versatility and his style and the way he plays. He is so different to a lot of other players. So you haven't got one, because I've seen people go, well, Semenyo's 70 million. They're different players. You know, Rodgers can play left in the middle, can't he, as well? Almost a support striker. You know, it's so hard to place him in that regard in the market and give you that yardstick. But I would be surprised, especially Villa are smart operators, Monchi and Emery. They know the market. They're very shrewd in that regard. But I couldn't see you getting much change out, 70 million quid for Morgan Rodgers.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Just to finish off then with the Premier League, we do have a little bit of Arsenal news. They are getting a couple of contracts sorted, it appears. Their nominal biggest star, Saka, looks to be well on the way in terms of him securing his future there, or at least immediate future. And then the more controversial, but nonetheless effective and talented Thomas Partey as well is in discussions.
Yeah, it felt like, especially Partey, was just everyone was expecting he's going to go. And the only question I've got now is he's been offered one of those 1+1 deals, where it's like a year, and if you do well, you can get another year, and they're in negotiations on that. A lot of people are asking that the fact he's being offered this deal, or they're negotiating with him, what does that mean for Zubimendi and that move? Because remember, Arsenal fans were telling us, oh, that's nailed on, he's coming. Yeah. And we said, just hold on, just like we're in Real Madrid and other, don't sort of put all your eggs in that basket. So it is interesting to see if Partey does actually sign, what's the knock-on impact from that one, and why are they trying to get Partey to sign if they were going to get Zubimendi? It would seem a natural switch out for the two. I know people will say Jorginho go in, but in terms of starters, isn't it, as well? So there's that in the mix. And Saka, yeah, bit of asset protection. The young star back, get him tied down to a long-term deal to throw off all suitors that way. And yeah, Mikel just loves spending money, doesn't he?
I'm gonna just assume that the interest in Partey is because good old Mountain Nonsense decided he doesn't want to be too far away from those mountains, and he's going to take the Madrid bag. That would be my guess. Watch this space.